Welcome to the Rhymes with Green podcast. I'm here today with Mark Riccadonna.
Yeah.
Is Riccadonna, right?
Yep.
Okay. I feel like for a while I said Riccadonna because, I don't know, it's like an Italian thing.
Yeah, that's probably the correct Riccadonna, but because Italians use pure vowels or whatever, but we're American.
What other kinds of pronunciations have you gotten?
Oh, well, I mean, in high school I was Riccadumbass. Riccadonuts, Rigatoni. I've had it all. I know people panic when they see 10 letters together, but it's pretty easy. Like I always tell MCs, it's just say 3 first names, blend it together. Mark Riccadonna. And if they mispronounce it or they butcher it, I don't care.
There you go. My first name, obviously, no one's going to mess that up. Brian.
Yeah,
I mean, that one, everyone knows that one. We got that one. But my last name, Bussell, growing up, people would say Bussell. And so that quickly became the nickname for me, my brother, my older sibling as well. We were all Bussell. And then, I don't know, you get older and people want to know the right way to say your name. So they ask to say your name. And then in conversation, they're like, oh, have you ever had a nickname? And I'm like, yeah, it was Bussell. And they're like, why? Because they don't understand. They never just saw it and had to pronounce it. So
that was what's funny to say is in high school, if a coach gave you a nickname, you were in good shape. Even if it was a negative one, you were in good shape. But if they only called you by your number, that's not good.
Absolutely. And you know what? With the last name thing, I feel like you didn't even need to be on a sports team. Like if they just happened to like pick you out, if you had, I don't know, like one of those kinds of last names, they would just be like, you there, Smith or whatever.
Yeah. And then that becomes, it was always Riccadonna. Like everybody just called me by my last name.
Never like Ricky or anything?
Yeah, I would get that once in a while, but not a lot of people in my youth called me Mark. It was always, I've gotten Rick, I got Ricky, Ricky D. I like all that kind of stuff.
That's very 90s.
Yeah.
Ricky D.
Ricky D. Once in a while, I'd get the Marky Mark.
Marky Mark. Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't want to go ahead with that one. I wasn't sure your feelings on him, but
but that was always that was always one. But it's funny. Not a lot of people just called me Mark. It was rare to hear, "Hey Mark, can you?" It was always something. A kid in acting school when I was in New York actually used to call me Riccadonna Sutherland.
Why it's so long? It's so extra.
There's so much more to it,
Is that a nickname at that point, or I don't know, a pseudonym?
Ball busting.
Yeah,
it's just a roasting.
My middle name is James, so RJ was always available, but it never became a thing. When I first got to college, I think I tried it for I don't know, 2 minutes, and I don't know. I talked to someone from high school, and they were like, oh, "No,
don't do it."
Yeah. It was going to be one of those things. It'd be I don't know, dyeing my hair or something blonde, I'd regret it afterwards.
Immediately, your true friends call you out on it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you've been doing a lot of comedy now and for a very long time. I think this is, correct me if I'm not mistaken, the main career that you've had for most of your adult life.
Yeah. I went to theater school.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I'm actually kind of proud of it. I've never had a real job.
Never?
No, I mean I worked building sets when I was in school.
Even part-time things?
I mean there was a couple times in my life where I drove blood samples. It was and it was during the pandemic. I would drive blood samples to labs. And it was because there was no work, so it was I had to do something.
No, but that's a good job, though, to do. I mean, right away, as soon as you said it, it was oh, this isn't as funny anymore.
But the thing that was crazy about it is, as a comedian, I'm in the car all the time. So it was felt like I was just going to a gig.
You should always start cracking jokes. Hey, you want some of this? You want some of that?
And I would go in, and it was for animals. It wasn't human blood samples. So I go to these veterinarian clinics, and you just open the little thing, and you take the samples out, and you put it in this cooler. And then at the end of 2 hours of driving around picking stuff up, you go out, and you just go to this lab and check them in, and it was the most brainless job. you could do. So I listen to a ton of books on tape.
I was gonna say, how do you pass the time if you didn't previously? I mean, there is podcasts and stuff, but like, what kind of books are you into?
So this is actually kind of cool. I'm really into biographies. I like biographies. I like true stories. I like that kind of stuff. But what I was doing, and I still do it now, every fifth book that I take out, there's this app called Libby, and you put your library card in, you can borrow audiobooks, and it's free, and it goes through your library, which is kind of cool. And every fifth book, I pick something that I don't know anything about.
Just like a random person.
A random person or a random thing. I've learned so much from doing this, and I tough it out. Even if the book, I get it out and I'm like, I'm not interested in this, I still tough it out and try my best to like get through it. There has been times that I avoid it because you get the book for 30 days and like I don't finish the book. And so when it expires and it goes back to the library, I'm like, it didn't make it.
Sorry, Dwight D. Eisenhower. You just weren't interesting enough. Yeah.
But I just did Mark Twain's book.
Okay.
And it's like 48 hours long.
48 hours about Mark Twain, like as a person?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I didn't make it all the way through in the 30 days. I only made it about halfway. And so I had to renew it. But there's like 10 people waiting in line. So I'm going to probably get it next year and finish the book.
I got to know what happens at the end.
Yeah, I got to find out. But I love Mark Twain. I think he's, a friend of mine, Rich Scheidner, everyone thinks Mark Twain was the first stand-up comedian, but he's actually the second. There was a guy named Artemus Ward.
Okay.
Who was considered the first stand-up comic, where he would do speaking engagements, but it wasn't about a subject. His whole point was, I'm going to make you laugh as hard as I can for as long as I can. And then when you run out of steam, close the show. And it's never been done. Like, so these people show up not knowing what to do. But when you're reading the book on both of those guys, they have all the same exact things that stand-ups nowadays have. Like, the business has not changed at all. It's still the exact same. And, like, the structure of everything, the structure of getting booked, the structure of nothing has changed. I mean, almost the money hasn't either. It's still the same. But it's, like, it's really interesting to be... like I'm listening, like I always say read, but I was listening to it. But you're listening to it and going, I played there. Like, I played that venue. And it's... The
same ones?
Yeah, and it's like the same stuff. And he's going through the same things and the same heartaches of being alone on the road and how it drives you crazy and all the different things. It was like, dude, this could have been written in the early 2000s and you just updated a couple things and you'd be like, it's still legit.
There you go. That's the premise for a new, I don't know, TV short. Mark Twain in the current century doing his stand-up things.
Yeah,
finding out that the same material is just not working anymore. He's like trying to tell jokes. He's like, so I was with my friend the other day, like white, of course. And then everyone's just like,
how about that Woodrow Wilson?
Big fan of that guy. So then you mentioned being on the road a lot. What's some of the favorite cities and different locations you've been to?
Wow. So with the USO, I got to go overseas, and
that's the military, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been all over to like the weirdest places. The little island in the middle of the Indian Ocean called Diego Garcia, which got famous from Transformers because that's where Optimus Prime is. And
it sounds like a person.
Yeah, Diego Garcia, great guy. No, but it's like I've been there 3 times. Like, even if you're in the military, it's like a 0.001% chance that you get to go to this place. And I've been there 3 times, and like know the bartender at the Brick Club. It's the craziest. And the Marshallian Islands, like all these like really weird. I'm working on a book now. I probably shouldn't say anything because, like they say, once you say it out loud, then you like kind of decide like I don't need to do it. I already told people. But I'm working on a book, and the working title for a long time was Amazing Things I Got to Do Because I Tell Dick Jokes. Like, I've seen so many cool things that it's like, yeah, comics, we don't make a ton of money, but it's like the amount of stuff and the culture that I've gotten to take in and the life experience is like pretty amazing. You know, like a lot of people save up their whole lives to go to these places that I get paid to go to. And I don't mean to say this like in a bragging way, but because look, I can complain about comedy all day if you want, but
stage is yours.
But I honest to God, like if you look at the positives of doing stand-up, it's a pretty amazing field. To just the idea, I've been to 46 states. I've luxury, beautiful resorts that people like save up their whole lives. I go there and they pay me to be there. And like I get to bring my kids to a lot of these places. Like I feel like when I die, my kids are going to like inherit nothing because I don't make any money. But they're going to be like, I thought we had money. Like I've been on all these cruise ships. I've been, every summer we go to Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard. We go to Kennebunk. Wow. Up in Maine. We'd be in resorts in Florida and the Outer Banks. And like these kids like grew up every summer in resorts and, getting treated well at the resort too, because like I'm a guest entertainer there. So like, they're like, oh, that's your kids. Come on in. And, whatever. And like, they're going to realize like, wow, we had a pretty cool life for not having any money.
Have your kids ever come up to you and been like, hey dad, you're getting a lot of gigs like in the Midwest, you think you could try something like a little Northeast next time?
Well, we went to Hawaii this summer and they were like, you need to start gigging in Hawaii because we really like surfing. And I was like, yeah, I'll do my best, man. But like I don't know what to tell you.
Hawaii.
let me write it in. There are some towns too, like San Antonio, that I've created a group of friends from going there so often that now like when I go there, I'm staying at. I get the hotel from the club, but like I go to their houses every day where they're taking me somewhere. They're showing off their town to me. And I get to like experience and have friends that are true friends that I stay in contact with. When I'm in different parts of Florida, there's like groups of people that it's like, oh, well, when you're down here, just let us know. We'll come get you at the airport and we'll take you out to eat and we'll do this and that. And it's like I have these little pockets of friends all over the country. And it's kind of amazing to like experience the country like that, because the hardest part of stand-up's the loneliness.
Yeah.
So like I was just saying to you about this last minute cruise ship popped up. In the Bahamas, and I'm on this private island that's owned by the cruise ship company, and it's gorgeous, and everything about it is top notch, and beautiful beaches and pools and tiki bars and all that stuff, but I had nobody to share it with. Yeah. So it was like it's almost makes it more depressing because you're like, I'm in paradise but nobody to share it with.
Yeah.
And it's like you're a giver or a taker, and taking isn't necessarily mean a bad thing. You can take things in by yourself, but I'm a giver. I get more pleasure watching my wife and kids enjoy something. And like I can stay out of it and watch them, and I'm just as happy. Like I don't have to be the one. Like I enjoy experiences with them.
Absolutely.
So it's like I'm sorry, I'm rambling. And
No,
I think
absolutely.
You asked me about my favorite town.
I think I absolutely get it. I mean, like, I'm swimming in the Bahamas by myself. Like, I'm drinking out of a tiki by myself. Like, when you could be doing it with, your wife, your kids. Like, that's like always in the back of your head. So like that makes a lot of sense. Like, the best times that you have in those cities is with other people when you're not by yourself. And that's really awesome that you've kind of built like a national, and I'm sure in some places international group of like, your own tribe, if you will.
Yeah.
So I guess kind of in the other direction, instead of, you mentioned a little bit of like the challenges, what other kinds of challenges have you kind of had to deal with in your career or just as like a comedian on the road that really stick out to you?
It's always, I think it's with everybody. Like, it's not just with comedians, but I think financing is really tough, especially because you're by yourself. So you think you'll feel better if you spend more money. Like, if you go, like, I deserve to go somewhere nice to eat because I'm by myself and I'm depressed right now.
Yeah.
I deserve to, drink tonight and all night or whatever. And it's like, it's hard. It's hard to be conservative with money when you're like alone and you're like, it's like you either want to live like a hermit and just stay in your room and never do anything and like almost make yourself suffer. And then like, like, especially these like vacation gigs, it's like you see everybody having a blast with their family and you're there by yourself. So you're like, well, maybe, you know what? I deserve this. And then when you come home, you're like, how did I spend so much money?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All those treats for myself. Yeah.
Because I thought every night I deserved something, Yeah. The loneliness is like the hardest part. And that's because then it goes into your spending, Mm-hmm. But then it's also like, when my family comes with me, a lot of times it's like it'll be a wash because I'm paying for 4 people to be doing everything. Mm-hmm. So we go out to eat or we go to do something, it ends up becoming a wash and everybody just gets a great vacation out of it. So it's, I don't know, financing, the loneliness, travel, it can be a pain. Like, it's the idea of being in a car for 6 hours and then knowing at the end of the shows you're going to drive home 6 hours. So it's like you put a half a day just in transportation. Yeah. And like a lot of people will be like, well, I can't believe you get paid that much just to do an hour, to work for an hour. And it's like, yeah, but I also have to get to the gig. And that is days away from family, days away from, and you're also paying for the years and years of writing and troubleshooting the jokes and working them in a basement in New York City for
childhood
money.
Bullying.
But it's like, it's so, if you look at the actual job of telling the jokes and being on stage, like, I think most comedians would do that for free. It's unbelievable feeling to have a room, to feel like you're a maestro and the audience is your instruments and you're getting them all to laugh and seeing people enjoy themselves. It's such a great, awesome moment. But it took 25 years to write that act that I know will work in front of this crowd. And when I'm in front of that crowd, I got to do this stuff. And, you have to travel there. You got to work out the bits. You got to deal with bookers who are going to try to rip you off and, that kind of stuff. And it's like, as a comedian, you're your own producer, director, writer, performer, travel agent, collections agent. How many times comedians will talk about like, I still haven't got he said the check's in the mail. It's been 3 weeks. And like, you're panicking because like, I did the gig. Now I need the money. Cause I can't tell the mortgage company the check's in the mail. They don't care. Like, they're just going to take your house.
Exactly. Well, before you got the house and all the trips and stuff, you were living in New York. That's where you first moved to go to school and then I'll do all the comedy stuff. Yeah. What kind of comedians did you come up with? What kind of gigs were like your first ones and how'd you kind of get your start there?
So I was in theater school and I was living with a bunch of, we were all actors and we were all artists and we needed like jobs, like while we were in school and I was working building sets and I was so interested in stand-up, but I didn't really know it was a real thing. So I started kind of working as a door guy and I don't consider it a real job because it was mayhem. Like, it was just a nonstop party and it was like every night I would get up when people were paying their checks and I didn't know doing stand-up was like a thing that I could do to make money. I just thought it was like, hey, I got to go up and fill time while the waiters get the checks. And so I went up and had fun and just like goofed around and stuff. And then all of a sudden I kind of got good at it, where I was getting people to listen. And a couple of the comedians were like, you should do like a legit, like go up during a real spot or whatever. And I was kind of like, I wanted to, but I was also like trying to be, I don't know if humble's the right word. I was trying to be like, oh no, I can't do this. Like you guys do that. Like I go up and just act like an idiot.
Yeah,
like,
I'm just really good at my job. That's your guys' thing.
Yeah, you guys are comedians. I'm just filling time and being stupid.
Yeah.
But I really did want to do it. Like I had a notebook full of stuff I was always writing and whatever. And so I gave it a shot and I really liked it. I didn't know it was an option. Like it was just kind of something to fill time while I was waiting to get out of school and find acting work. And so next thing I know, I had a car, and a couple comics were like, "Hey, you got a car? I'll give you $100 if you drive me to this gig, and you go up and do like 5-10 minutes, get the audience listening, and then bring me up." I was like, "For real? You give me $100 for that?" And next thing I know, I was getting enough work that I was like, I don't need to work at the club anymore.
You could have started the original Comedians in Cars, man.
Basically, that's what I did. Is I kept comics company. I got the audience to listen, and then I got off stage. Like, I never had the glory part, but it was such a fun time. And like the comedians I was working with, like,
any big names?
I mean, the guys that would come through the club, like Robin Williams would come through. Seinfeld was a regular. He lived like 5 blocks away. Chris Rock would come in. Chappelle was coming in.
And those weren't the guys that were paying you to drive them, were
No,
they?
no. But
I was going to say, like, that'd be like crazy.
Yeah, that was. But they like knew me by name. And I had to call them to tell them like when their spot times were.
Yeah.
So like I had George Carlin's cell phone number. I had Adam Sandler's number. I had all these like amazing, there's like, I can't believe this is real. Like I'm calling and like, whatever, like Dave Attell. I'm calling Dave Attell and he's like, "Hey, Riccadonna, what's up?" I'm like, your spot tonight's at blah, blah, blah. And it was like, they'd come in, they'd always say hi to me, and they liked me because I didn't want anything from them. I just enjoyed being in their company, And I'll never forget Robin Williams, and this was pre-cell phone camera. Like now it'd be not as big of a deal, I think. But he would come in, and when a real famous comic would come in, say the show started at 8, they would come in at 8:15, so nobody sees them. So they would come in, and immediately he'd go behind the side where the bar is, and he would go over there, and the bartender and him knew each other. And I'd always go over and like, "Hey, do you want to go on?" And like, "Yeah, whenever, if you don't mind." And like, of course.
For you, anything. Yeah. I'll kick this guy off stage right now.
I will tackle him, and you take the spot. But like, they always the bigger name comics were always. It was always the people on their way up or on their way down that were jerks, and it was the people who were there were always so nice, and they were always so like giving, and they understood. It was like, I'm literally doing this job so I can do stage time. Like it's not, it's not like I have a piece of the club. And I would go over, and I remember this lady wouldn't leave him alone. She wanted to like get a picture, but she had to like run to the store to get like a disposable camera.
With Robin Williams?
Yeah. And I go, "You can't take pictures with him in here." And she's like, "I'll go get a camera and blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "It's okay. She can take a picture." I go, "Sorry, Robin, it's club policy. It's not, listen, after the show, you guys want to take a picture out on the sidewalk? Go for it," and blah, blah, blah. Because I knew after he does his spot, he's leaving.
Yeah.
But I had to be the bad cop, and he got to be the like, "I would really love to take a picture with you." And then as soon as she like went in the room and was cursing me off when she walked away, he's like, "Thank you so much. I just want to go over my notes." But he doesn't want to be, the rumor is.
Everyone thought he was nice, but actually.
Well, we went and saw him at a comedy club, and he was a jerk. And it was like, he wants to go over his notes because he's going to perform.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I was there like when Tough Crowd was like the thing, Tough Crowd and Insomniac. So like, to me, it was the glory days of comedy. It's like that early 90s, late 2000s when comedy was like getting cool again. If you talk to an older comic, they'll tell you the 80s was when it was to be there. But, I was a baby, so yeah. I didn't get to witness that. So to me, the golden time was that early 2000s. So like the guys would come in that were on Tough Crowd, they would come in and they would work on their stuff. And so like we would watch it on them on stage doing it, and then we go home and watch it on TV where they're doing it, and it was like an education like you couldn't believe because you're watching how it would work. Like I remember Chris Rock was doing the Emmys, and he came in and he had Patton Oswalt, Nick DiPaolo, and Rich Voss with him.
Yeah.
And they sat in the back with yellow legal pads, old school yellow notebooks. And they sat in the back, and he went on stage, and he did 45 minutes, an hour of material of all about celebrities and whatever. And they're in the back writing. And, of course, I asked them if they wanted to go on. They're like, no, we're writers today. We're not performers. And he left. And it was like, that was pretty cool. The next night, he come back in, and that 45 minutes was about 30 minutes. And it was a lot stronger because they all worked on it, and he probably jumped at every club in New York City.
Yeah.
And then he came in the next night, and it was like 20 minutes. And it was 10 minutes. And then it was like chiseled down to 4 minutes. And it was then like a week later, we're watching the Emmys, and I knew every joke because I watched him whittle it down. So it was like an education as a door guy, like watching how professionals worked. And you realize like the idea of the Sam Kinnisons and the like party comics, like it's not really like that anymore. Like you have to be a professional. Like you can't just get loaded and then go on stage and just spew shit out. You have to like really take it serious as a job.
It's not the marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Yeah. Every comedy TV show, I swear to God, they always do that thing where it's like they have a nervous breakdown on stage, and they like all of a sudden find it, and they're like, oh, geniuses now. And it's like, man, it's not like that nowadays, because nowadays if you suck, you have a nervous breakdown on stage, you're probably not going to get booked again.
I don't know if it's because like I'm the kind of person that like when I'm standing, I've always got to be moving, but I feel like whenever I've been doing comedy and I start to word vomit, the room goes silent.
You start pacing around.
Yeah, you're trying to do stuff and everyone's just like, ooh.
It's funny because right now I feel like I'm doing that because I'm so like caffeinated, and when I talk about this kind of stuff, I just like get so excited and my mind's going in 1,000 places. But like the whole drive here, I was like in this real calm, like I even like my phone, somebody was calling and I like denied the call because it was like, no, I gotta focus, I gotta get and then as soon as we got here in front of the camera, I'm like blah, 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 blah.
Honestly, I think and I used to do this when I worked on Steve's show. Like at first, like when you're first like thinking about something, it's like the whole block of time in front of you. You're like, man, I gotta talk for how long? Like it's like that. But then you get like actually started, and you're like, oh, I just have to kind of like do the thing. Like I just have to talk. I mean,
instead of needing to write to fill the time, you need to edit.
Yeah,
so
to
you don't
shrink
go
it
overtime.
down. Yeah, I mean, this is my podcast, so we're going to go as long as I want to. But something I used to do when I was working on NJ 1015 on Steve Trevelyan's show was I'd get like caught up in trying to make my story sound interesting. Something I used to also try and do when I did some stand-up comedy. But I'd get lost in the build-up, forgetting what the end of the story is. So like I'd build it up for like just this whatever like ending. Like everyone's faces in the room just like, oh okay.
And my style through the years it changed or whatever, but like my style is very storytelling oriented, and it's really hard to know if the story is worth telling. Like, is the juice worth the squeeze? Because like I have a couple bits that are like 10 minutes long. Like they're 10-minute long chunks, and I try to have jokes throughout it, so it's not just one joke for this 10-minute story. But it's hard because sometimes, like, I'm up there and I'm sweating and I'm moving and I'm doing my thing and I'm, trying to get everything to happen. And then all of a sudden I finish and there's this moment of like, huh? and then like that nobody, and they don't know what to do because the punchline didn't hit right. And then it's kind of like, and that's my time I went skydiving. Next subject.
Leading up to this interview, I was watching, if you go onto your website or if you look up Mark Riccadonna on YouTube, you can find the Dry Bar Comedy. Yeah. I'll call it your Dry Bar Comedy special because it's like a physical video of you doing like a full set. I think your skydiving bit is one of my favorites.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I almost did a spit take because I wasn't expecting a few parts of it, but
that bit. Now, I was just talking to a cruise director about the bit because he was asking me what my writing theory or whatever is. And I told him I try to break it into 3 things. So I'm not just working one 10-minute story. I'm working 3 3-minute stories. Can this stand on its own? Can this stand on its own? Can this stand on its own? And then I'll put them together, and now it's this big, long story, and people are like, I don't know how you did that. And it was like, because I did it baby steps.
I'm having like an epiphany just thinking about it. That's really smart.
But like the skydiving stories, 3 short stories added to one. So there was the going to the skydiving place. There was the preparation of getting on the airplane. And then there's the actual jump. Each one of those I could do separately. I just would need to set it up so you would understand, like, oh, one time I was on an airplane, we were going skydiving, and I could just do that middle chunk. Or I could say, one time I was jumping out of an airplane because I went skydiving. I could just do the end chunk. One time I could tell about the time we were thinking about going skydiving. But then when they all got worked out separately, and it took like a month on each one of like constant tweaking and messing around, then put it together. Then what was crazy is I did the bit for like 5 years, and then I was like, it was my big closer, and then I was like, all right, I've done it enough, like, and scrapped it. And it was like I did it on an album, it's done now, whatever. And then all of a sudden something happened where I had a new joke I wrote, and I was like, that could fit in the skydiving story. Maybe I'll bring it back to see if it works. And so I brought it back and I added to it, and then next thing I know, I added 2 more things to it, and then it became like, it felt like a new bit. And I'm not famous at all, so like not that many people know the bit, so it's like when I brought it back, people are just like, hey, that's a good bit. And it was like yeah, I was doing it for, 10 years, and then I got rid of it, and now it's back.
I'm glad you like it. It just happened.
Yeah, I actually had to change the one line because it was like, I'm telling a story about being too heavy to skydive.
Yeah.
And then I lost weight. Like, I lost a bunch of weight, so now I do a bit where I'm like, well, I used to weigh 250 pounds, but I lost a lot of weight since I'm 248 now. And it's like, people just like, what? And
they're just looking at you like
you wouldn't recognize me back then. I was so fat back then. Meanwhile, it's 2 pounds.
That's pretty funny. So you mentioned what some bad experiences on the way to a gig could be, but like, what's literally the worst gig you've had?
So there's a couple. The very first time I ever did a road gig, I had a roommate. He was my roommate and one of my closest friends. His name's Nick Novicki. He's a little person, and he goes on the road with Nate Bargatze. He's like, dude, he's doing so well. And him and I lived together for a long time, and he got an offer for a gig, and it was in PA. And he was allowed to bring 2 people with him because he had to fill the whole show. So I had a car, so I'm in.
Yeah.
And then we had a friend, Chad Shapiro, who's obviously Jewish, and that will be important in the story. And he was like doing comedy twice as long as us, so he was like the experienced guy. And this was back in the MapQuest days, like no GPS. So we literally had to print out all the directions. We're driving to this gig, and it's like literally we went from the turnpike to like the PA turnpike, and then it became like a highway, and then it became like a back road, and then it became like a dirt road. And we're like, it was scary. And we pulled into the place. We found the place, and it was a house that they turned into a bar, and they turned the yard into a parking lot. But it was just somebody's house. Like they had beer signs in the window or whatever. Like we were joking around, like this is what happens when you get kicked out of every bar in town. You're like, screw it, we'll just open our own.
A townie bar for all of the belligerent drunks.
And it was filled with like motorcycles and trucks with like Confederate flags and stuff. And we go up, and Chad was like, listen, we're not going by my last name tonight. Like, just call me Chadio. Do not say Shapiro. So we knock on the door, and he actually still goes by Chadio. But we knock on the door because the door was locked, but it was packed. We could hear people. And they opened one of those slides, and the guy asked if we had cards.
Was it like a speakeasy?
Cards or whatever. That's what I thought. I'm like, this is the weirdest speakeasy ever. And Nick was like, where are the comedians? And the guy like looked down, and he's like, oh. He opens up the door. We go in. The place is packed, and it's all like, it's rough. Like bikers, truckers, like big scary men. And there was a guy who was like going to be the MC, and he brings me on, and I was like, I'll go first because I grew up in Ohio. A lot of my jokes are, this should work with these guys. They didn't care. Like they listened, but I didn't do well at all. And I would go to do my big closer that I know is going to at least get a laugh before I have to bring up Chad, because I like, the one thing is like I always want to set the table for the next comic. Like, so I go to deliver, and the bartender yells, do some jokes about, and he says the N-word, and the whole bar is like, they're all just staring at me, and I didn't have any.
Really? You didn't worry about to pull something out? Nothing waiting in the back pocket? I've been waiting years for this.
Oh, those are the jokes you want? Hold on. Let me get my notebook out. But like, I know this is probably like, everyone always pretends how tough they would be or how, whatever. If I had any, I would have done them just to get the hell off stage and to like get out of the situation. I would have. Like, I was in survival mode, man. And so I joked around with Nick after. I said, you heard me. I zinged him with the best zinger I had. That's my time. I got off stage, and I was trying to get over to Nick to, like, say, like, hey, dude, we got to get out of here.
Did you see that?
Like, this isn't good. Like, let's do the gig, get paid, and get out. Like, no hanging out. And I go over, and the MC guy was on, and he was playing, like, a guitar song, like, doing, like, a racist version of Weird Al. And I go over to Chad, and I was like, dude, what was that about? Where's Nick? Like, and he's like, Nick's on the other side of the bar. So I couldn't get over to him. And the guy that yelled that, the bartender, goes, I got your beer. That was a tough crowd. And he opens up his wallet, and he's a card-carrying member of the Ku Klux Klan. There's like a card. And I'm looking at the card, and like, I didn't think like everybody's watching me, or whatever. I was just, and he was like, oh, yeah, this is a benefit for the Klan. And I was like, I'm here with a little person and a Jew. Like, we're not in a good spot. Like, they brought Chad on, and Chad had the same thing as me, where it was like, he was just trying to survive, An
Italian, a little person, and a Jew walk into a white supremacist bar.
It was, I remember sitting there so scared of like, not necessarily like they were going to do something, like, beat us up or something, but just being like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? I don't know if you ever seen that movie Death to Smoochie with Robin Williams. He's performing in this one space, and he's like a childhood performer, and he's like doing this like comedy benefit, and all of a sudden the lights come on and it's like Nazi banners all over, and they take a picture and it's like front page of the paper, and it's like that's what I'm having visions of. Like, Chad gets off stage and the MC brings Nick on, and Nick's opening line, because he wasn't paying attention, he was like, all these women were flirting with him or whatever, so his opening line is, any Puerto Ricans here? And it was like the whole bar, it was like Pee-wee's Big Top Pee-wee or whatever, the one where they're at that bar, the entire bar just yells, fuck no. The hair on my neck stood up. I was so like, uh-oh, like this isn't good. And Nick was just, and so he killed. They loved him. He was, oh my God, he was doing crowd work, making fun of people, and like they loved him. But after the show, I run over to Nick and I was just like, dude, we got to get out of here. He's like, have a drink, like hang out, like the guy's going to pay us. I go, okay, but like let's get the money and get out of here. Like we got to go. And the bartender goes, hey, I'm going to shut down here. I'll get the money together and then we'll go over to my other bar. I have a strip club. And I go, dude, I'm sorry, man. I got to get up really early. Like, is there any way we could just kind of take care of this, and then I have to take off? And Nick goes, you don't have anything to do tomorrow? So we're in a car, we're following a truck to go to where the strip club is, and there's like 4 motorcycles behind us following us, and I was like, this is how that movie Mississippi Burning opens. Like, we're gonna get killed out in the woods tonight and nobody knows where we are, like nobody knows, like it's going to be a cold case file. I don't know if you notice, I refer everything to movies and TV shows.
It kind of sounds like you're like, this is the plot of like a 2000s raunchy film, like, dude, it's so easy. You just go on stage and tell some jokes. It'll be fine. They don't know that we're not comedians, and they show up and it's just like a KKK.
It was, we go to this strip club and this place was, it was, what you're expecting it to be. And they put Nick on this chair that was on wheels, like an office chair, and these girls were playing ping pong with him with their butts. And he'd slide across the room, and then she'd hit him, and he'd slide across the room. And we did get paid. We did get paid, which was like, I thought for sure we were not getting paid. But we got paid and we drove home, and it was like dead silence. Like for an hour of just, we almost died tonight. That was a pretty scary one. That was like, I was actually nervous for like my life. Like, I've had gigs where like, got heckled really bad, and I had a guy at a casino threaten to kill me for no reason.
A casino?
Yeah.
Like the mob?
I think
Maybe was. Not the mob, perhaps just whoever owns that casino. No larger organization.
I was on stage and I was in the middle of a bit, and this guy just stood up and started going, I'll fucking kill you. I'll kill you. And I was like, what did I do wrong? And like, I was like, buddy, like, I don't know what I did to piss you off, but we should be friends,
I'm sorry you don't like my 10 minutes on Eastern Europeans. What's wrong?
And I looked over, and he had empty martinis around him, and he said something, and I was like, oh, you're really drunk. You're that guy. Like, I'm looking at his table, it was all like younger people. At Thanksgiving, like, they're like, oh no, don't give Uncle Phil any more martinis. He gets drunk, all of a sudden he thinks he's, hitman for the mob. And like the audience laughed, and then he was like, I'll see you after the show. And I was like, oh, that might be legit. Like, like, this guy might kill me. And I got off stage, and the MC was like, just hang backstage. And I was like, what do you mean just hang backstage? And he was like, we're going to get him out of here, this guy's. And I remember at one point when he said he was going to kill me, I said in front of the crowd, I said, there's 250 people here. You're the worst hitman in history. You have to kill all these witnesses. And like the crowd was with me, you know, but this guy, he had a look of like he was going to kill me.
Let me just say though, like hindsight 2020, that's like the worst thing you can say. Like if he, I don't know, like if he's got like a weapon and you're just like, this is the worst thing you could do. There's so many other people here. Like I don't know, he just like,
just start murdering people.
Yeah, I don't know.
Dude, there's. And the thing is like on stage, I try to be a nice guy. Like
Yeah.
I try to be friendly. So it's like it's so weird to me that I've had those situations because I don't get necessarily heckled a lot.
Yeah.
Like I've had a couple incidences. Funny enough, almost always in Philadelphia.
I get that. Philly's a tough crowd.
Then I got that guy, the mobster guy that was going to kill me, and then I had another one, and it was right after the Bill Burr thing when he roasted Philly.
Yeah.
And I feel like Philly thought like, oh, that's what we're supposed to do at shows. And I got brought up on stage, and I was at a country club, and they started booing before I even got on stage. Like they were screaming at me, just like they didn't even know who I was. Like I didn't even get to the microphone. They're yelling. And I remember this one guy yelling. He kept calling me a and I was like, I haven't even gotten on stage yet. Like, like at least wait until you see me and then make fun of me or yell or whatever. But they were yelling, and it was like 3 minutes in, and they were just yelling so overly like I was just like, I've never bailed on my time, but I'm done.
Wow.
I just walked off stage. I was like, I'm not doing this.
Wow. Have you ever gotten like someone back, or have you ever had to like have someone removed from your crowd?
Yeah, and it's weird. Whenever I've had hecklers, I'm usually pretty good at turning the table and making it like not necessarily a battle of wits. Like I'm not going to go back and forth with some drunk guy, because the comic can usually win, because the thing is we have a microphone, and if they yell something, then you say what, and then when they repeat it, and then you repeat it into the microphone, it gives you so much time to come up with something. But the other thing is usually by the time you repeat I suck, that's what you said, that was your brilliant thing, and the crowd just like, oh, this guy thinks I suck, and then the crowd turns on him because it's like you wasted so much time on him. The crowd's like, all right, we had enough.
Yeah. Your set was bombing, and that guy just like saved it for you.
There was a guy, I'll never forget this. It was in Atlantic City, and this guy heckled one of the other comics, and the comic buried him. Like just buried him because what he heckled was so like vague, but it was like in a direction or that was like easy to just whatever. And then after the show, the guy come over to the comic and said, hey man, it was great working with you. He goes, what? And he goes, yeah, I was in Vegas, I was working with Richard Jenny. And like, working with him? Like, you're not on the bill, you're just the guy in the audience who was heckling. Like, you're not a comedian, you're not my partner.
Yeah.
But the guy was like, yeah, I fed him this line, I told him I was from West Virginia, and then he said this, and like the guy like thought he was part of the show, and it was like, man, that was depressing. Like this guy thought he was helping. Like, do you understand, we write shit? Like, yeah, I had a show planned before you jumped in.
No, I absolutely get that. I think as someone that's done many forms of media, there are people that like love to insert themselves and be like, yeah, I got you, man, I know how it is.
Yeah,
like, dapped you up, I got you.
Get people that call in the radio show, and they have like really bad like thing to make fun of them, and it's like, you don't want to do that. Like,
I can't go into details because I appreciate all these people, but there are people that would call the station that would call often enough that like in their heads they're like a part of the show. Like, if I don't call tonight, people are gonna wonder what happened.
What happened?
Where's John? And this isn't a real person. Like Bob in freaking Gloucester County or whatever.
That's it's interesting because the other thing I've noticed, and this has been in recent, I do a lot of talking about moving out of New York because of the insecurity I had moving out. So it's something I wanted to write about. So I have all this material about leaving New York. recently I found people booed where I lived. And it's like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Like having had lived in New York, people are like, boo, you live there.
New York sucks, and it's like, all right, first off, I know you're booing me just because you're not booing New York, the city, you're booing liberals. So it becomes about that, and that's their focus. Because then as soon as you point out, like, well, where do you live? Biloxi. Like, well, I was going to go to theater school in Biloxi, but it, whatever. And like, it's like that Sinatra sang that song, Biloxi, Biloxi, and everybody wanted to go there. So now I can't get in the theater school in Biloxi. So I had to go to that shithole town, New York, to try to make it in the arts because, I couldn't go to the Biloxi School of Dramatic Arts.
World, third world country.
And it's like, as soon as you point out to them that it was like, it's really stupid that you're booing where I lived. Like, it's so stupid. And I had a bit about this, but it's a true story. Southern lady called me a stupid Yankee. And I was like, are you talking about the Civil War or baseball? Either way, we won. So, like, let's move on.
Scoreboard.
But it's like, it's so ridiculous because it's like, do I really have to defend the greatest city in the world? Like it kind of is like it's it's like being a rich guy making fun of poor people. Like, New York's so cultured and so amazing, and the arts, the best of everything's in New York. The best lawyers in the entire world go to New York. The best painters in the world had their stuff hanging in New York. The best singers in the world are living in New York. Like, to make me defend it, it's making me feel like a jerk because I'm shitting on wherever you're from, defending my city. But it's not even my city. It's like, hey, let me do my act and you're going to hear about why I moved out.
Yeah.
Like,
no. This isn't painting the city in a positive light, I promise. And it's going to create a little bit of like dissonance if I have to defend it first.
If I back up this city and then I do my act, you're going to be like, well, which is it, buddy?
Love it or hate it. I could tell why you left. You can't make up your mind.
The other thing is online has created this issue. Mm-hmm. Everybody's like an autistic lawyer. And so whenever you say something and you have a hint of exaggeration for comedic effect, they're like, that's not really what it is. And you're like, yeah, I know, it's a joke. Like, and then you find yourself defending the joke, and it's like, I shouldn't be defending the joke. Like, you're an idiot. Just move on.
Yeah.
Like, you're taking it literal, and it's a joke. It's, I have this bit where he said something about, like, my wife was going in for a cesarean, and the doctor said, do not Google cesarean. I should not have Googled cesarean, because basically what comes up is the last scene from Braveheart. Yeah. Some guy wrote online, I Googled it, Braveheart didn't come up once. And I'm like, I don't even know what to say to you. Like, you literally thought that was real, that Braveheart comes up. And first of all, it's not even the last scene in Braveheart. But you know what I mean when I say it, when they disembowel him, and it's like, you get the gist, and that's what makes it funny. If I literally said, when I Googled cesarean, these are the first 10 results, it wouldn't be funny, because it would be, it was a doctor site, and then there was a,
when people cry at the end of Click, it's not because Adam Sandler told a really funny joke. It's because of that one scene.
And so it's, to me, it's like, the minute comedy becomes where you're defending something, it's no longer fun. And it's like, especially my kind of comedy is silly. I'm stupid. I say dumb. I have a joke about a whale smoking a cigarette. I did this joke, and now it's in my act that I say this, is I did the joke. I went out on the deck and I saw a whale smoking a cigarette and it's smoking through the blowhole or whatever. I'm in Long Island and a lady yells out, bullshit. You think that was real? Like the whale smoking a cigarette? Like, probably doesn't have a lighter. Like, I don't know where he keeps the cigarettes. You're right. It's not real.
I don't like your jokes. I can't suspend my disbelief long enough to understand.
Everybody wants a gotcha moment. That's what it is.
No, I think people like feed off that, like the gotcha moment. You know, they're like living in their head, waiting for that moment where they can be like, actually.
I think, you know what I want to start doing now when somebody does that? I'll go, oh man, you really got me. You win. I'll stop doing the bit.
That was the whole reason I was telling this joke. I was hoping you would go home and look up Braveheart. You see, I actually had a small bit part, and they pay me 0.001% every time someone views the clip, so I got to get millions.
But it's what we've become. Like, is almost we're going backwards. You know, like the idea that like doing this podcast, doing stand-up comedy, acting, whatever, like what we do for a living doesn't provide any of the basic necessities of life. We're not protecting anyone. We're not feeding anyone. We're not getting them water. We're not sheltering them from the weather. Strictly, we're here for somebody's leisure, for their entertainment. I don't think any other animal does that. I don't think there's animals that might occupy and like whatever, like you see a bunch of gorillas sitting around and the gorilla might do something to make the other one laugh or whatever, but it doesn't survive off of doing that. It doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, it has a sense of humor.
They're not organizing, monkey stand-up gigs,
And they get paid in bananas, and that's how they provide for their family is leisure.
Adam Banandler.
So it's like, we're the only ones that do that, which is like kind of like, I don't know, evolution or Darwinism. Like, that's our opposable thumbs. It's like the new version of having thumbs. Like, we can strictly survive off of entertaining other people.
Absolutely. It's a necessary thing. People provide different services to society, and being able to relax and laugh at something is I think a luxury to have, and to be I don't know, it gets underappreciated. Like, it's one thing to be like funny when you're talking to your friends, but then to be able to like come up with something, as when I had Justin Gonzalez on, he said he referred to like real comedians as like a capital C comedian. People that can come up like you, that can come up with jokes that are just like, you hear it and it's funny. You don't need to like know who this person is beforehand. You don't need to see the wind up
background.
Yeah, like you can like find that 5-minute clip online, and it works.
But I mean, I think that's what makes us the best species, or whatever. It's like we're ahead of the game. But then you read comments, and you read YouTube video comments and Instagram video comments, and you realize like, oh no, we're going backwards now. Like, we have this, but we're also detracting from it. Like, people are getting too caught up in the stuff that doesn't matter, and they're too caught up in the like needing to be the most important comment in the room, the most important voice in the room. And it's like, you can't just sit back and watch. I'm going to say this as a generalization, so I don't get the autistic lawyer community on YouTube to come after this.
Sure.
Generally, if you hear as a comedian you're doing a benefit for teachers or for cops, it's going to be a rough gig, because they are used to being the most important voice in the conversation. And I'm not. My wife's a teacher. She's a librarian and a teacher. I have a lot of friends who are cops, but they're used to being in charge. So the fact that they have to sit and listen to somebody else say their opinions rubs them the wrong way, and a lot of times they can't wait to speak up. And but everybody's becoming that. That was when I first started. It was always the like, it's a benefit for the cops. But these guys are good guys. They're really nice guys. They're, because you knew if you were going in, it was going to be a bunch of guys who aren't used to having to listen to other people's spew their opinions, for obvious reasons. And it's the same with teachers. They're not used to having to sit down and be quiet and listen to somebody else. They're used to running the show. So they tend to be a harder audience because they want to speak up.
Yeah.
But now everybody's becoming that.
Yeah. No, I think as cancel culture or whatever we're calling it in the hindsight, kind of faded away. People don't want to cancel you anymore, but they do want to tell you why you're wrong and why you should feel bad about it. They still want that moral high ground, but they're not gonna cancel you for it.
Yeah. I mean, that's, to me now, it's like when somebody does, you're 100% right. Just like, I'm done with it, because I don't want to have to, like, I'm not defending a joke. I don't do anything that's really offensive, like, but I do stupid, silly stuff. And so it's like, I'm not defending a whale smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Like, you just want to be in the conversation instead of just listening, which, fine. Cool. You're right. The whale didn't smoke a cigarette. It was all made up.
Yeah. I think that's definitely, like, those kinds of comments are, as I've gotten older, are like the kinds of comments that get me the most, just when people have like just nothing to say but they want to contribute. I've done some work with like in corporate America, and like there's so many people like that who like they have nothing to say but they just want to be like, yeah, could you send that to me? I just want to make like some comments on it, and they make like whatever changes to it. They just want to have been able to say that, like, I told you to do something so I could take credit for having helped.
I notice I used to go to a ton of like screenings and stuff, and because of the school I went to, I'd always get free tickets to like really cool Broadway shows or independent films. And Christopher Walken did this independent film, and it was a pretty cool story. It was about 3 generations of men. It was like the grandfather, the father, and the son, and they knew it was probably going to be the last time they were going to do a cross country trip or whatever. And it's like this really touching story, right? And afterwards, they go to have the talk back with Christopher Walken, and Christopher Walken's on Broadway a lot, and every actor felt like they had to say something, and they had nothing to say. They couldn't just sit and listen to him speak, and then have a genuine question. They just had to talk. So this one guy kept asking him, you ever think about giving back and like starting a theater company? He's like, well, why would I do that? And they're like, well, to give back to the acting community. And he's like, and this was a while ago, so he was like, I'm like 70 years old. Every time I want to be on Broadway, I can generally get a part. I'm in 100 movies a year, and I don't think I want to take on the project of like starting a theater company or whatever. And then they kept asking him, could you explain in detail, like, when you get a script from start to finish, like when you're in the moment and they would just say these buzzwords to let him know that they're actors. And you could see him getting more and more frustrated. And at one point the guy was like, can you go over your, because you have such unique phrasing, like, how do you go about when you get a script? He goes, I get the script, I read it, I memorize the lines, and then I say them.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know what? Like, I watched him go from like trying to be completely like giving and talking to the point of like these actors just wanting to hear their own voice. And he just was getting more and more frustrated. And he knew he had to fill the rest of the time, so that I say the lines, and then I leave.
Yeah. People legit think that there's like a secret sauce out there. If I could just ask so-and-so like what their plan is, like how they go through that, like I'll figure it out from them.
I'm going to,
but like oftentimes there's like no secret sauce to it. It's just
work.
Do it. Yeah.
Just work. Yeah. It's, I get a lot of people ask me, cause I have a very good schedule. I'm insanely blessed. And I believe it's because I've just always worked. I've just always stuck my nose to the grindstone, worked as hard as I could, and tried to be as good of a person as I could. And I got to a point where I didn't send out avails to get booked. I would get phone calls, and I'd fill my calendar. I didn't ask for work. It came to me, which is a really great place to be. It's like, and I'd get these guys that would call me and go like, can you get me in here? And I'd go, I'll mention your name, but like, I don't have a secret. Like, there's not a handshake. And if I do it, you'll get all I can do is mention your name and go, hey, my friend Bob from Gloucester. He's a good comic if you're ever looking for someone.
Calls into 115 a lot.
But like I get it all the time, and then like I got management, and so now I don't do any of that. Like they do it, and I have I have an agent and a manager, and it took me 25 years to get them, and it was hard work. And I was with other agents and other managers that it didn't work out, and we had a good relationship, but it didn't work. We didn't click. I'm with people that it's clicking now, and I'm getting the work. Like my next year, I'm pretty much already booked up to a year from now. Like November of next year, I'm solid. And these people are like, get me in with them. I'm like, dude, it took me 25 years failing upward. I've failed so many times to fall into the spots that I got into. And there were lean times and there were whatever, but I just always worked. I wish I could. I wish I could just make it happen.
Yeah.
But the other thing that people don't understand is like they have a roster of people and they handle as many as they want. I don't have any say in it. And so it's like, if I get you on the roster as well, when they should be making a phone call about me, they're worrying about you.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to be selfish, but like I've been doing this 25 years and I worked my ass off to get to where I am. Like, I want to ride it. Like, I want to ride. I don't want to like continue working for other people, you know? And it's, I do a lot of like producing and writing and like independent film stuff. I always try to bring my friends along. I always try. But it's like, I'm also not the president of show business. Like if I go to the guys who's directing and producing, the person who put the money in, and I go, I know a really funny actor that would be right for this. They're not going to say, yeah, okay, great. They're going to go, yeah, send me his stuff. Because we had 2 guys that we wanted. Well, they're the ones paying for it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. There's only so many seats in the car, and like you can keep someone in mind if it's like specific to their location, but also like it's your own name on the line. If someone's asking for a recommendation, you're gonna give them the best that you know for that area.
Yeah.
And if it's like not necessarily that individual first, like you're not gonna tell them that. But like you know, you kind of have to. I don't know. That's starting this podcast trying to book guests. One thing I've had to realize is that like if someone doesn't get back to you, or like if you're looking to have someone on the show and they don't respond to your message or whatever, it's not like they're saying no. Like nobody, it can feel personal in show business when someone doesn't respond or says no, but it's not personal. It just, it's the business. Like it's a no right now. Like, you know, like maybe at a different time when you get there, or if the timing is right, you know, just keep at it, you know, and be there, stay in that person's sphere. And then maybe that could be you. But like the idea that like you get a no and it's a no forever and you should have that chip on your shoulder. A lot of people really like fall off the deep end with that.
Well, and I mean, we had to reschedule. I got a last minute thing. I had to take it. And I came home and I was so tired, and it was like, you know, I felt like such a jerk being like, hey, can we reschedule? Like,
but like the thing is, I could be mad about that and be like, dude, what the heck you doing? Like, yeah, I can, but like, what the heck? Like, and then you come in here. Day. Yeah, but then like you come in here and that's in your head. Oh man, he was upset, and then like the final piece isn't as good. So it's not worth getting upset about. You know, it's just one of those things. Like, what's the desired like goal in mind? You know, and does getting upset with this person like through the text because
is it worth?
Yeah, like is this just gonna burn the bridge that I would so much like to have? You know, you have to kind of go into like those conversations with just like, you know, I'm expecting nothing. I'm gonna ask because the only way you know is if you ask. Yeah. But if they say no, like just put it on the back burner. Yeah. You know, come to them again when the timing is right.
Exactly. I wish there was a way. And look, I'm struggling to make, you know, my mortgage and my bills and all that stuff. You know, we live in the arts. It's a hard business. It's really hard. I mean, if it was easy, everybody would do it because it's a great, fulfilling business to be in. If I could bring everybody along on everything and we were all making $1 million, it'd be the greatest thing in the world. Truth is, some people look at my schedule and go, man, you're killing it. And it's like, not really. I'm just getting by. Like, I'm working my ass off. I'm working, which I'm very grateful for. But, like, I don't have a lot of extra. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like when I was a feature act and was the opening act, I had such a good relationship with bookers that they would book me and then say, bring a headliner. Who do you want to work with? So I would call these headliners and be like, hey, you want to do this weekend with me? And it was like the weirdest thing to be the opening act getting work for people.
Yeah.
But then when I started closing, a lot of these relationships I had started to kind of, retire and stop, their club shut down or this happened. And it's like, it's harder now. It's a lot harder. And now we're competing with people online that are doing really great and they're filling clubs. And we're like I was always the guy that they seemed to enjoy having. I didn't necessarily, I'm not a draw. I'm not famous. I'm a what do you call them? Journeyman. Like I'm
Just
like
funny.
I'm the journeyman pitcher. Like
Yeah.
I make a living doing this, but it's not like I'm whatever. And now I'm competing with people who have been doing it half as long as me, but have 5 times the following. And it's good for them. I'm not throwing shade at them. It's good for them, but it also is depressing being like, that kid's half my age and he's crushing it online. Yeah. And I'm like, I got 10 likes on that post. Yes. Look out. Here I come.
Updating the social blade out, print out. What are my future projections looking better? Or am I going to be in 2027?
But it's like I'm watching this all happen, and then I have people asking me for help, and I'm like, it's like one of those things where it's like, I have to get my oxygen mask on before I'm supposed to help anyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I working in the corporate space, some of the videos I've produced are like informationals about like doing things. And one thing that's interesting is like the quote unquote thought leadership space. Yeah. And so people will be like, telling people like, oh, do this, do that. Like, this is why your YouTube channel isn't like working. And they'll be like, stop uploading, or they'll be like, only upload this often, or uncheck this, check that, do this. And it's like,
damn,
you're marketing.
Talk to your people because I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, here's the thing, like all of that is right, but all of it's also wrong. Like a social media strategy is so individual to like, what you do, like, are you a nonprofit? Are you a comedian? Are you like a diner, or a bar, whatever it might be. And there's like no secret sauce to it. It's just, you just have to do it and be consistent. And like the beating the algorithm is only relevant if you have a place to begin. Like if you haven't actually started doing the thing, you shouldn't be asking someone like, how do I get better at it, or what should I do? Like, just start actually doing it, and then you'll figure out what works for you and stuff like that. A lot of people get like really impatient with like the process.
Yeah, I was gonna like give it all up and like get rid of my accounts and just like
the social media.
I was so fed up with like I'm putting out clips like 3 a day of stuff that I find interesting. Like I can't try to figure out what other people want. I can't figure it out. I don't know. My stand-up, I feel like I do a lot of stuff that's I know what people want, so I do that instead of the stuff that truly makes me laugh, because I know I wouldn't get booked as much because I feel like really weird shit. Like I would be a better comedian in the UK than probably in the United States because they are open to weird.
Yeah.
But with social media, I'd like put up clips that I find interesting, and like they won't get any likes, or they won't, I get like 300 views, whatever. It's like, am I just yelling into an echo space? Yeah. And I get it. Like if 1,000 people liked it, my count would go up. More people would watch the videos, but nobody's really clicking like on them. So it's what it is. And I remember saying, and there were 2 comics that I really look up to, and they were like, every morning I can't wait to see your clip. And I go, really? Like, how come you don't like it? Like you say, and whatever. And And he goes, well, they're not really likable clips. They're just interesting clips. But they're fun. I listen to them while I'm doing something else. I'll listen to the clip, and then I switch, and then it's a guy who shit his pants, and I like that. That's funny. But like I listened to your whole clip, and I like looked at my analytics or whatever, and my friend Ashley said it's a pretty high number. I have people that watch the whole clip, and they're longer clips. They're like a minute to a minute and a half because they're chunks of conversation that I find interesting. And, I also find interesting as a comedian or an actor or a writer.
Sure.
So maybe it's not for everybody. It's like people in our community might like it, but like they don't like it because it's just a little piece of information. It's like it's like the bold clip that they take out of your textbook when you're in like social studies. They'll take like the little bold clip and put it that they pulled out of the paragraph. Like that's what I'm trying to do is that. It's like I had this 2-hour conversation with a really awesome artist, and I'm just going to give you a couple little nuggets of it. You know?
That's really what it is. I mean, this is like a whole conversation we could have, probably not on the podcast. I could get into details about it, but I mean, like there's when it comes to taking like a larger chunk of there's a lot of, how do I say this? A lot of what the short form content that people consume is like chunks of longer form content. So it's like finding those good sound bites in the longer things, or sometimes what you'll see is like someone will take like, I don't know, 15 minutes of like a cartoon and like find all like the best bits, and they'll put that all together, and that'll be like the thing. People do it with like stand-up bits too. If like a comedian has like 3 parts that they like sprinkle throughout their like 5 minutes of whatever they're doing, someone will like cut it together and load it online. I don't know. I mean,
we had this guy, Billy J. Kramer, on, and in his own right, amazing musician. But he's best friends with John Lennon. Like, he wrote music.
That's incredible.
They tried to give him Yesterday. Like, we wrote the song. Do you want it? And he was like, it's not going to be a hit. And like, but he was friends with them. He hung out with them, and he, like they'd sit around and smoke pot and hang out. And he's a great musician on his own, but he came on the podcast, and it was like all these amazing nuggets of like performing with James Brown and doing all this stuff. And he was so humble, and he had a sense of humor of himself. And I put his videos out, and it's like, I guess maybe if I had John Lennon on.
What's kind of cool now that like different platforms will have is the ability to like make it look like multiple pages posted the same clip at the same time. It's like Instagram's collaboration thing. And so and similar to to I guess bring this full circle here, similar to like comedy or acting or music, any of that, it's kind of building your web, your who your connections. And so by having like a collaborated post with this person and that person and doing this and that, like slowly like you introduce like what you have to their audience, and you get like 2 people here and 4 people there, and you build it up over time. So like when I post this online and onto social media, I'll
collaborate with you.
I'll collaborate with you. And so like that, my audience will see you and they'll be like, oh, I think that guy's really funny, and he's a comedian, so I can see him like actually tell jokes instead of just one-liners on Ryan's podcast or whatever.
But I mean, and it's funny because I'm trying to do it. I'm trying to learn it. I don't want to be the guy who like fights it. You know what I mean? Because I know it's the future. It's what's happening whether you want it or not. I have so many friends that are like, I don't do social media, and then they complain that they're not working. It's like you gotta have some kind of a presence,
Yeah.
And I try to do it, and like have these good guests that would come on, and we haven't done the podcast in a long time. But.
And your podcast is Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling, just like your 2016 album. Yeah.
Yeah. So Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling was my, and still is my like brand of who I am. Like those are the 3 things that I love, and it's my favorite. And I used to do a live show And this was before podcasting was like a thing or whatever. But the live show was the storytelling show, but with stand-up comedians. So you go up, you do a couple minutes of your act, then you tell a story. But we'd all sit at a bar on stools, because my favorite thing about being on the road would be like, after a show, they turn all the lights on, and you see all the blemishes of the club. And there's a hole that they patched over here because some guy put his head through it because he got in a fight with a girl, and the bouncer did this. And there's broken glass over there that somebody's cleaning up. And you sit with the bartender and the club owner and the other two comics, and you just start telling stories, like the craziest shit that happened at this club, some of the coolest people you had. And now podcasting's a thing, and I feel like everybody's getting to do that. Like, we're all getting to do that now. But like, we used to do a live show on stage that was basically a podcast, but it just didn't have a name yet. It was me and this guy, Vic Henley, who's like one of the best storytellers in the world. And we would do this storytelling show, and it was so much fun. And then I remember constantly asking my manager at the time, Ricky Gervais has this like online radio show, but it's video. Like, we should be doing that. Like, we should be doing that. And then they were kind of like, you want to do radio? Like, radio's dying. And I'm like, no, but like, obviously I can't go and buy a radio station. I love doing radio. Like, radio is one of my favorite things, like long form. And it's like, I wanted to do it so bad, but I didn't know the technology of it. And then all of a sudden everybody had a podcast, and it was blowing up, and the whole thing. And I was like, everybody's doing that thing that I love.
Yeah.
And it was like, I got so excited, and I was trying to listen to every podcast under the sun, because I was like, this is so awesome that everybody's has a platform now to tell their stories. But then it became a race for who can be the next Mark Maron, because Mark Maron blew up, and then everybody was trying to be Mark Maron, and then Joe Rogan blew up and whatever. But it was like, all of a sudden there was all these podcasts, and people weren't listening to each other. They were just waiting for their moment to talk. And I got turned off by it, and that's when I went back to audiobooks.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I think that a lot of those, like a lot of podcasts, I mean, I feel like in some ways Smartless is a parody of that. Like, I love that podcast, but like there are moments where I'm like, geez, you guys had a guest on, you should let him talk. Like,
we used to joke at that with Richie on our podcast, because like we'd have a guest on, the guest would say something, and Richie would be like, yeah, it reminds me of a time. I'm like, Richie, wait till we don't have a guest on. Tell all the stories.
You spent some time as a writer for SNL, I believe, right? In some form, some capacity?
Yes, it was a contributing writer.
Which
is a really fancy way to say you just suggest jokes.
Okay. Were you like writing into the newspaper and like, oh, this one's not bad? Like,
it's like being... there's the real writers that write the sketches and all that stuff. There's the staff writers who are like, on salary and doing great. Then there's contributing writers, which means Michael Che's assistant sends you hundreds of topics, and you write hundreds of jokes, and then your team sends in the best ones, and you hope they get picked up.
Did any of your jokes make it to air?
I did. I had 4 or 5 jokes, I think, made it on there.
Really? Which any that were are particular ones that like maybe stood out?
The first one I got on was it was during the Trump-Clinton election, and it's Donald Trump said if he gets elected, people will say Merry Christmas. But I'm pretty sure if he gets elected, they're going to say Jesus Christ.
That's pretty good.
So
they probably put you. You're on a list now for that one, I'm sure.
I'm definitely being watched.
Find me that one comedian that wrote that one joke that one time in 2016.
Get him. There was, and I worked with such a great group of guys. There's a comedian, Stan Stankos, who brought me on, and his girlfriend, Nicole Corcolis. So the three of us
I'm sorry. That's crazy. They both have names that are like alliteration.
Sound like made up names.
They're like alliteration.
And we worked underneath Kevin Brennan.
Sure.
He was on Weekend Update back in the day. Him and Norm Macdonald were really close, so Norm had him like on the show. But it was kind of funny. Like Kevin has a podcast called Burning Bridges, and I think it's so crazy. He's like, I'm sure there's like autism or something. Like he does not hold anything back. So whatever he thinks of you in the moment, he will say.
So that's why it's called Burning Bridges, because like you see relationships fall apart live. Like,
and I've watched him fight with people that they were best friends, and he would get in fights with them and like whatever. And I don't know what, and I'm fingers crossed that never happened. For some reason, him and I have always gotten along really well. And I remember when we were doing Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling, we used to record it at the comic strip, and he recorded Burning Bridges there. And he come on the podcast, and he's like, "You guys need to rename this 3 Fat Fucks."
What that's really funny. What
he gave the name to, I don't know if you know Patty Rossborough. She had a podcast, and it was like 2 complaining comics or something, and he was like, "Nah, it needs to be 2 tired twats."
That's good. That's good. There's like with this podcast name, for I think like 6-7 years. That's the kids are doing the 6-7 thing. But
my boy's always 6'7".
69 was the funny number, and then one day it became 6-7. But
it's just 2 less.
It's just 2 less. But 68 got no love. But so. The name of this podcast was actually just like a random thing I put into my Instagram bio when I was like a sophomore in high school or something like that, or a junior. I just wrote like, I was like, oh, people have like witty things in there. Like, what do I put? And then I was just like, rhymes with green. I think I was like watching like a lot of Jeopardy or like Whose Line Is It Anyway or something during that time. And so it was just very nondescript. And so when I was like, what do I want to call this? I was going to call it the Ryan Bussell Show at first, but then I was like, if anything, it'd be a reason to not listen to it. So I was like, rhymes with green. Oh, that's perfect. Like, and I looked it up online, and like, if you go on YouTube and you look up rhymes with green, like there's no like, I don't know, Scrabble, anything, or any word games. It's just like this comes up. So that's pretty fantastic.
Cool. I'm so jealous of your generation and below. I know a lot of old people complain about the younger generations. I think it's just amazing. You guys grew up with The Simpsons and South Park, always there. So like your level of sense of humor is at a younger age is so much more elevated than my generation, And technology's always been in your lives. So it's like, we had email, like, you know what I mean? Like in high school, like we had email. Nobody used it. It was like, I'll check it once a month.
AOL chat.
I didn't even do that. No. Like it wasn't even, I didn't have a computer when I moved to New York. Like I used You
didn't use Facebook or anything? Weren't like an early adopter?
Facebook wasn't a thing.
I offended a previous guest, but might I ask, what year did you graduate from?
I graduated high school in 99.
99? Okay. So like,
there was like Friendster, but like I wasn't on it. Like,
yeah.
I didn't need that. You know what I mean? Like the technology is computers are ingrained into children now. Like I watch my little guys, they're 9 and 11 years old, and they're on pads and tablets, and they're doing their thing, and they know how stuff works, and they're understanding. They're taking coding classes, and it's like that wasn't even a thing when I was like, that's not even like we had computer class, and it was like the flying toaster screensaver. It was like, whoa, look at that. Damn.
I've really come to appreciate having, as I've gotten older, like DIY be like catch up with me as I've gotten to like each stage. So like when I was in high school and I really liked playing games with my friends, like, you know, being able to like record your games became like a thing you could do. So everyone's sending like their gameplay to each other. And now everyone, you know, now it's like everyone's streaming to each other, you know, their games and their, you know, all this stuff. It's crazy.
I mean, it's awesome. But even like we had regular Nintendo when I was in like grade school, like the 8-bit or whatever it was. And like I remember Super Nintendo and Genesis came out and it was like mind blowing.
Were you a big gamer?
No, that was the problem. Like it was like that's what you did if it was raining. You know what I mean? Like we were always like doing stuff, like which was great. And like I'm glad I had the life I had where like I wasn't filmed 24/7 because I'd be so embarrassed of things that who I was and what I did and how I treated people. Like I would hate to have that on record. You know what I mean? Like I grew as a human being, and now I'm okay with decisions I make because I think I'm a good person. I try my best, you know, but as like a 13 to 17 years old, you don't need that reminder of who you were at that time because you were really trying to figure it out.
Absolutely.
And I feel horrible like my kids are going to grow up with that record. You know what I mean? Like it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
So whatever they do will be there forever. And it's like, and I get it that like that's the same with everybody. So it'll probably be a little more excusable. You know, because it's like, well, everybody was shitty, so, you know, whatever. But
it's awful, man. They're going to have to grow up with that gamer tag that they made when they were 10 years old.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was what made us laugh with emails.
Yeah.
Like, because people would be like, I'm never going to use this, so their emails would be something completely ridiculous.
No, like mine's like, I think mine, I'm not about to say it. That's probably a bad idea. But I know exactly what you mean. Like,
I've had the same email since I was a kid. Like, I have a Hotmail version and a Gmail version because Hotmail was, you know, you either did AOL or Hotmail. It was Hotmail. And then now it's like if you tell somebody you have a Hotmail account, they're like, whoa.
I feel like there was a stretch of time when you were like, you'd ask someone like, what's your email? And they'd be like, oh, first/last@gmail.com. But like, I feel like we took that for granted. Now you'd have to be like first, last, 5, you know, numbers and symbols and, you know, your mother's maiden name and whatever else. So real quick, lightning round here, some stuff about your I guess your early media consumption. What were some of like the big actors and that you looked up to when you were little, and what were some of like TV shows and music? I guess all that media stuff. Like what was little Mark consuming that made Big Mark become what he is today?
So this I found this young, and I still stick to it, and I'm trying to instill it into my kids. But King of the Hill may have been the most perfect show because anybody from any generation can grab onto it for a different reason and watch it and enjoy it with each other. There's people who think Hank is the hero. There's people who think Hank is an idiot. There's people who think Bobby's the hero. There's people who are laughing at Bobby for being an idiot. There are people who think Dale is completely nuts in a conspiracy theory. And there's people who watch it and go, Dale makes sense. There's people who, like, every character, there's so much three-dimensional in this cartoon that, like, anybody can watch it and find the humor for themselves, which is, like, the goal, right? You want to entertain as many people as possible. So like that was always, even when I was young, I was like, Mike Judge is a genius.
Do you think he's still cooking with the show? You like the
new one? Yeah. Oh yeah. I think it's good. And I thought everything he does is good. Like he's really, really good. The whole thing that made me want to become an actor. I saw a PBS special of a play called True West.
Okay.
And it was John Malkovich and Gary Sinise. It's a 2-person play. It's written by Sam Shepard. It was a weekend. I was on the football team, and my buddy Brett stayed over, and we were flipping through the channels, and we come across PBS, and there's these 2 guys on stage slamming each other down. It was like a mix between WWF wrestling and like a soap opera, where it was just like, what in the hell's going on? And I remember looking at my buddy Brett, just going like, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. Like, I so badly want to do that. And then I end up doing theater and moving to New York City. And they had an anniversary of True West at the Circle in the Square theater. And it was John C. Reilly and Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Wow.
Doing the same parts. And what's so insane about that, and I think coincidental, is the thing that made me want to get into movies was Paul Thomas Anderson's movie, Boogie Nights. I went and saw Boogie Nights. I didn't know what it was about. I went on a date with this girl who was like a goody two-shoes, and she was like, she thought it was a dancing movie about dancing because of the commercials, and I thought it was about undercover cops because a 70s like cop movie. So we were like, we'll go on this double date. We'll go see this movie. And we go, and we were at this really crappy movie theater in Youngstown, Ohio, and it was like all velvety, and it looked like it was the 80s. And I remember sitting down, and the movie came on, and I got so lost in the movie that I completely forgot who I was, and I forgot where I was, and the movie was over, and we were walking out, and it wasn't until I got in the parking lot that I realized it's not 1981, and we're in Youngstown, Ohio, not Southern California. And it was like, I completely transformed mentally, like out of my body. And I was like, I want to do that. And then the play that got me into it was being performed by the two actors from Boogie Nights. And I was like, this is all making sense. Everything's making sense. And the thing that got me with wanting to do stand-up, my first memory that I can think of was watching The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson with my grandma and my great aunt. I would fake being sick, that I had a stomach ache, so I could lay on the couch with them while they watched Johnny Carson. And I remember, and I don't know if he was the first comic I seen. I feel like if I looked it up, like it would probably be later, but like I remember stuff that was earlier. But the very vivid one I remember was Larry Miller. Larry Miller on The Tonight Show. I remember seeing Drew Carey, Rodney Dangerfield, and just thinking like, they just looked like they were having so much fun. I was like, I can't believe that's a thing. Like, that's a thing somebody's doing. And my grandma is sitting there laughing. I just loved it. And then I really got into Rodney Dangerfield because then my cousins that were older would play like Back to School and Caddyshack and all that. I thought it was like, I thought I was getting away with something. Like, do people know about this? Like, is this like our secret? Like, does other people know that these movies are like a real thing? And that was something that I was so into, was watching those Dangerfield movies. My brother and I were obsessed with Dolomite. I don't know if you ever watched him.
I've heard the name, but
so Eddie Murphy did a biopic on him recently, and it was really good, really good. But Dolomite was like this comedian who couldn't make it. Like he was successful, but he was like a journeyman, you know, like. And so he just decided that, like, he was the first dude to kind of do independent movies where it was like, I hired a bunch of college kids and I wrote this script, and he was trying to make a serious movie, and it ended up being a comedy because he was such a bad actor, and it was, you know, so cheaply done. And my brother and I were obsessed with it, that it was like, man, he just did what he wanted. Like, he didn't care. It wasn't like he followed a rule and like, hey, you're not allowed to say that, or you're not allowed to, like, you know, like he'd slam the door and the wall would wiggle, you know. It's like, and it just, you suspend your reality and just go with it. And I remember my brother and I used to take my dad's camcorder and we'd just film these like 70s cop shows. And it was like the most fun. And like people in town would just go along with it. And like we'd be filming it in school and the teachers would just let us go because they like, hey, it's keeping them out of trouble.
Yeah.
So they just let us do
Riccadonna
it.
brothers doing their thing.
And they were ridiculous, and I'm sure I'd be embarrassed to watch them now in front of people, but at the time it was the most fun thing I've ever done, you know. And I was like, man,
it's an important experience. You know, you were making those early mistakes, you know, those early films. Yeah. So then, what's kind of some projects that you have coming up? I know that you just mentioned writing some stuff just for fun with your brother, but I know you are also doing some writing for some different projects right now.
So there's three things that are kind of I actually filmed tomorrow. There's a series called Unsuited, and it's and these are all with the same people. We have that Paul Thomas Anderson thing where it's like all the collaborations with like the same group of people. But Unsuited is about gambling. It's about a guy who decides he's going to give up his family inheritance to move to Vegas to become a professional poker player, and he's not good at it. He's not a good poker player. I play one of his buddies from New Jersey who's trying to talk him out of it. I can't wait for it to come out. We have the first season almost done. My character is busts into a game and forces his way into a game with like Tom Arnold and a bunch of, it's like a group of LA guys that get together to play poker, and my guy talks his way into it, and we film the last part of it tomorrow.
Nice.
I play a really fun character in the Beer League, the movie. They're making a series, and I have a pretty cool part. And this is what we were talking about to kind of full circle this. Beer League was being shot, and my friend who's directing it and one of the co-writers of it was he was like, hey man, we're going to be filming this thing. He goes, are you going to be in the city? I go, no, but I'll come up. And he goes, there's not really a part for you, but like, we'll pay you to be an extra. We'll make you a glorified extra. Like, we already have it casted or whatever, but like, we'll put you in there and, you know, whatever. And I go, dude, to hang out on a set and be with friends, like, I don't care if I have a part or not. Like, I'll come and carry equipment if you want. And I went and I just tried to help out as much as I can. And whenever I'm on a set, I try to help out. And at one point, the lead is Jimmy Palumbo, who's great. And he's like the lead in it. He turns and just starts riffing with me. And I'm just in the moment, and I riff back. Next thing I know, they're like, okay, well, you're in it now. like, you're in it. And,
good job, buddy. You did it.
And we developed this character just off of a riff that is like the guy, nobody knows his name, and it's too late. You can't ask him.
Yeah.
That it's too late in the relationship. So, like, they're just trying to figure out what his name is. And, like, he knows too much. So they're like, how does he know so much about us? Like, I can't remember him. And it legitimately, like we were talking about, like, the people always want to know is there's a secret. There's a secret to it. And it's like, no, just show up and work hard. And just, I didn't expect anything.
Yeah.
I showed up and wanted to help. That's it. I just wanted to help. I wanted to make their dream come true. So if they needed somebody to carry equipment or they needed somebody to fill a seat in the background, I was just going to be there. And you know what? Afterwards, I was going to hang out with friends and take in the process, watching other people work. Like, I love it. And next thing you know, it's like, now I'm in it.
There you go. And that's like, how it happens.
Yeah.
I've said this to people before, like, you know, a lot of people say like it's luck or whatever, but part of luck is like being present for that luck to hit you. So, you know,
without the opportunity, you can't get lucky.
Yeah, you just have to say yes to that thing, even if it seems like it might be a waste of time, you know, just being present in the room where things are happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of, it might have been my dad. He's like, you can't dream about what you're going to do with the lottery money if you don't play. If you play,
that's pretty good.
You get to dream about it and tell you what you would do with it. But if you don't play, like, you can talk about it, but you don't have a shot. So it's like, buy the ticket. Buy the ticket, go for the ride, see what happens. If you don't, you can't complain. Like, I could have said, no, man, I'm not, I don't do extra work. I could have said that, and nobody would have got mad at me. They would have said, no, totally understand. I didn't do it because I expected I was getting something. I literally was going to help they have this really great DP, and I was going to help carry stuff and try to learn from him, see what he's doing, because I really love watching people work with cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it was like, I can't believe I'm going to get to go and eat and drink for free and watch and have a free class. It turns out I get a part.
And even more than you bargained for.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it was now I'm a character on the thing, and I'm on the team. I have a position.
The beer league. And when is that? Do you know when that's coming out?
So we just finished filming the first season, and now we're finishing the unsuited one, and then in the fall we're going to start with it's called Checked Out, and they're short. They're just sketches, and it's about two guys that work at a convenience store. One is very aware and woke, and he's trying the best to be the best he can be, but he got wrongfully Me Too'd, so he's overly sensitive about everything. And my character is a guy who just goes through life he's just happy he has a job. He's happy. He loves working at this convenience store, busting balls, having fun. And it's he doesn't live by any conditions. So the two of them are friends, but you see them how they clash. And then the owner of the convenience store is, the complete opposite, where he is trying to offend people. He's trying to stir it up. So it's a really fun mix. And then we just deal with all these people that come into the store. And they're only 4 or 5 minute episodes, and they're a lot of fun.
That's pretty cool. And so then, maybe not when, but do you know where these might be available when they are done?
Yes. 213.tv.
213.tv. And there you can find information about all of these projects?
Yes. You'll find all of them. It's a new streaming thing, and they have independent films on there. They have, these series. They have a couple other ones. They have a few live plays. Dan Lauria, who's in Unsuited, has his play that he wrote on there. And he's the dad from The Wonder Years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that's super cool.
Really big theater guy. He was so awesome to sit and talk to. Guy has stories. He can tell you about Sid Caesar, playing poker with Sid Caesar. You're we have to get these on tape. We need to conserve all this great, preserve it. I mean,
hold on one second. Let me get my phone out.
Yeah, dude, you need to be telling these stories. He got Sinatra stories. He's got all these great stories, and it's that's why I love podcasting.
Yeah.
It's this is the Library of Congress for the younger generation.
yeah, absolutely. And it's a great way to have conversations with people in a more casual way,
Yeah.
There's less. I mean, I know we have a camera set up literally right there. And gosh, I hope it is still visible, because I'm looking at the light now and it's right on the lens. Right. So we'll see what happens here. We'll see what the video looks like in this episode. But it's going up regardless, so it's gonna be what it's gonna be. But thank you so much for coming on the show, Mark. I really appreciate you driving all the way over here from the other side of Philly, where you're from. And where are you going to be next in terms of comedy?
God, I got such a weird schedule. If you go on markriccadonna.com, I wish my schedule made more sense, but it's all over.
That's Mark Riccadonna. So the Riccadonna, Riccadonna.
Bang.
Nailed it. Nailed it. Italian. Let's go. All right. Thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe, whatever platform you're on. Do that thing. If you're on Spotify, follow, whatever it might be. Thank you so much.